hamwe birashoboka.
We got you updated. This is Radio Imanzi News in English.
This is Radio Imanzi, broadcasting from Kigali. Here is the news in English, brought to you by Fiona Umuganwa. The headlines. Prime Minister Edward Ngirente held a press conference this afternoon to discuss issues centered on the economy. The government of Rwanda to offer university education to convicts. Traders in Gicumbi district have criticized the private sector federation. Former South Africa President Jacob Zuma has taken his fight to the Supreme Court of Appeal. Now the news in detail. Prime Minister Edward Ngirente said with the second phase of economic recovery fund in the pipeline, there is confidence the first phase was well implemented and delivered the expected impact. Minister Edward made the remarks this afternoon in a press conference held to discuss issues centered on the economy. The next phase of the economic fund would focus on key sectors such as manufacturing and the whole value chain, agriculture and construction. Minister Edward also pointed out that even though most of the correctional facilities are overcrowded, there will work to improve it, but more efforts will be invested in improving technical and vocational training skills to inmates. What they want is to nurture good citizens, not to expand prisons. Experts in education and human rights have argued that the proposed provision by the government of Rwanda to offer university education to convicts incarcerated in correctional facilities in the country will make them more productive and help tackle reoffending. This proposal is contained in a draft law on correctional services whose relevance was approved by the Chamber of Deputies last year on October 8th. Now it is under scrutiny by a responsible parliamentary committee before being put to a vote by a plenary sitting. According to the Ministry of Justice, the bill is part of the effort to review the country's correctional system by integrating education in the convicts' rehabilitation. The draft law provides that the institution in charge of correctional services establish a program to empower convicts with appropriate skills and knowledge for self-sustainability and help them to become law-abiding citizens. Traders in Gicumbi district have criticized the private sector federation for failing to have long-term profitable businesses. When traders travel to other parts of the country, they claim to see private businesses with commercial houses and large profitable projects, which makes them wonder what is missing in their district, prompting them to request that their representatives improve their performance. The head of the private sector federation Gicumbi district, Fabrice Alemutangana, said that they are going to start visiting other districts to learn from them. A delegation of members of parliament, led by Honorable MP Muzana Alice and Mayor Gasana Stephen, attended a public meeting after inspecting various infrastructures in Nyamikamba Cell, Gatunda Cell, Nyagatare district. One of the issues raised by the residents was of the new vocational and technical schools that have equipment that should be used to help students but are not working due to a lack of electricity in the schools. The MPs assured the residents that advocacy would be done to ensure that the schools receive electricity. The MPs commended Nyagatare District residents for their participation in the school feeding program, in which they provide schools with food supplies so that the children could get enough food. Residents of Nyakabuye sector in Rusizi district have asked the authorities to secure the hot water springs to prevent people from drowning. This follows the discovery on Tuesday of a high school student who drowned in the springs. The executive secretary of Nyakabuye sector, Gamije Ildefonse, says that in collaboration with Simergwa and Rwanda Development Board, strict safety measures will be implemented to keep people safe. The authorities have asked people to be more careful to avoid more of this.
Some items of international news on Radio Imanzi.
Challenges and deep concerns are growing in the General Reference Hospital in Beni, northeastern the Democratic Republic of the Congo, overcrowded with victims of armed conflicts carried out by rebels of the Allied Democratic Forces. Injured civilians, mostly women, who have barely survived gunshots and machete wounds, have been pouring into the General Reference Hospital. The majority of the patients, some with multiple bullet holes on their body, come from surrounding villages and towns in the Beni region, most affected across the Central African country by the Allied Democratic Forces rebels' atrocity. With rising number of brutal attacks by the rebels, in particular a suicide bombing in the middle of Christmas celebration last December at Beni's downtown, the hospital is facing unprecedented pressures due to flooding and overcrowding of the patients seeking treatment and refuge. Kenya, Somalia, Sudan, Ethiopia and Uganda are among the member states that will be taking stock of the progress they have made in the last 22 years since they signed the Nairobi Declaration to curb the flow of illicit small arms and light weapons in the Great Lakes region and Horn of Africa. Regional Center on Small and Light Weapons member states will be meeting in Nairobi next week to check on milestones achieved in the wake of increased military coups, armed conflicts, violent crime and extremism, communal violence, transnational crime and political instability in the two regions. Business leaders have urged the East African Community partner states to adopt the proposed 35% as the maximum common external tariff rate and commence its implementation in the financial year beginning July 1st. According to the East African Business Council, this is the majority position of the regional private sector consultative meeting held on March 9th in Nairobi, Kenya, that convened industrial captains and leaders of manufacturers' confederations. John Bosco Kabalisa, CEO of the East African Business Council, said the engagements from both the private sector and government agencies have been excellent and believe by 21st March a consensus will be reached so that the implementation commences the first week of July. The United Nations Security Council voted to extend for a year the peacekeeping mission in South Sudan. The resolution sets the end of the mission's mandate on March 15, 2023. The current level of deployment should remain unchanged, and up to 17,000 blue helmets and 2,100 police officers can be mobilized. The resolution, which was voted by 13 members of the Security Council, states 3 primary goals to the peacekeeping mission: prevent a return to civil war in South Sudan, to build durable peace, and support inclusive and accountable governance, as well as free, fair, and peaceful elections. The operation is one of the most expensive for the UN, with annual budget surpassing $1 billion. Former South Africa President Jacob Zuma has taken his fight to the Supreme Court of Appeal, tabling 4 petitions to avoid prosecution weeks before he is due to be tried for corruption. Mr. Zuma raised a special plea challenging the title of State Advocate Billy Downer and the National Prosecuting Authority to try him in the arms deal case, arguing that he was the victim of prosecutorial bias and could not be guaranteed a fair trial. The National Prosecuting Authority has insisted that the trial of Mr. Zuma and French arms company Thales must proceed regardless of any appeals. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky today cited Pearl Harbor and the terror attacks of September 11, 2001, as he appealed to the United States Congress to do more to help Ukraine's fight against Russia, but acknowledged the no-fly zone he has sought to close the sky over his country may not happen. Zelensky said the United States must sanction Russian lawmakers and block imports, and he showed a packed auditorium of lawmakers an emotional video of the destruction and devastation his country has suffered in the war. Lawmakers gave him a standing ovation before and after his short remarks in a heartfelt appeal to help end the bloodshed. Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi. The Rwanda Stock Exchange Market Report. Today's trading session recorded 21,981,000 Rwandan francs worth of bonds traded in 4 deals on the fixed income market, and 1,531,000 Rwandan francs from 10,500 shares traded in 5 deals on the equities market. Bank of Kigali counter closed at 250 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 925,000 Rwandan francs from 3,700 shares traded in 3 deals. I&M Bank counter closed at 45 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 126,000 Rwandan francs from 2,800 shares traded in 1 deal. Simerwa closed the counter at 120 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 480,000 Rwandan francs from 4,000 shares traded in 1 deal. Bralirwa closed the counter at 125 Rwandan francs. M10 Rwanda at 180 Rwandan francs. Equity Bank at 440 Rwandan francs. Kenya Commercial Bank at 370 Rwandan francs. National Media Group at 1,200 Rwandan francs. Uchuri Supermarket at 104 Rwandan francs. And RH Buffalo closed the counter at 526 Rwandan francs as the market closed. The currency market review of today. The Kenyan shilling buying price was 8.8 Rwandan francs. The selling price was 8.9 Rwandan francs. Tanzanian shilling buying price was 0.43 and the selling price was 0.44. Ugandan shilling buying price was 0.28 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.286 Rwandan francs. Burundian franc buying price was 0.49 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.5 Rwandan francs. The US dollar buying price was 1,007 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,027 Rwandan francs. The British pound buying price was 1,314 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,340 Rwandan francs. The euro buying price was 1,004 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,126 Rwandan francs. Today's weather forecast from the Rwanda Meteorology Department. From 6 in the evening to midnight, rain is expected in all parts of the western province except in Nyabihu district, while the rest of the country is expected to be mostly cloudy. The average wind speed is of between 3 meters per second and 4 meters per second. From midnight to 6 in the morning, it is expected to be mostly cloudy in all parts of the country. The average wind speed expected is of between 3 meters per second and 4 meters per second. The minimum temperature is to be 11 degrees Celsius tomorrow morning in Nyabihu district. With that, we come to the end of tonight's edition.